Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Assemble XP. One of your hosts, Matt, and joining me as always is the Dark Knight of Xbox himself, Mr. Court. Hi, Court.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's fine. Everything's good. Having a nice day. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
It's Wednesday.
Good for it.
At lunchtime.
Is it?
Yeah.
What'd you have for lunch?
I had a croissant, and a homemade cookie, and a coffee.
Oh, so okay.
Very healthy.
Very healthy. It sounds good. Well, the gentleman that is joining us today, everybody, it's not going to be talking about Court's lunch and all the things that Court has had today, or Matt, but we have Steve Vegvari here joining us. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. I'm excited to hang out with you guys during, this wonderful Wednesday lunch period,
I love that. Perfect. It is like being at school, and
it is. Yeah. We get a little recess, get to hang out on the playground. So much fun.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Hey, Steve, question for you.
Yeah.
How were the tacos?
They were surprisingly spicy.
They look like that from the video.
Yeah. Delicious. Don't get me wrong. And I can handle a certain amount of spice, but not too much. Not as much as they included in that kit. Hoo-wee.
So you had a bite and you went and got something else.
No. I kept going, doubling down, tripling down. Yeah.
Down.
It was there was a lot of sweat at some point. Yeah, like coming out the forehead, but it was worth it. Absolutely.
Okay. Fair
enough.
Fun.
Yeah.
Good. I like that. I saw the video. I saw someone posting how they were made, and I was watching her take the chilies and just take out the core and put it into the guacamole, and I'm like, that's gonna be spicy.
That's painful.
Yeah, I looked at.
Yeah, there was like a ramekin of like habanero sauce. I don't know everything. I don't know what exactly was in it, but that thing, a few drops took it to the next level, and I don't know. Being the idiot I am, just kept going for it, spoons after spoonful, and I was like,
God,
bad idea.
Steve, no.
I play my video games on baby mode, and my spice is baby mode as well. So,
but I'm here. I survived. That's the most important thing.
Good. So you can be on hot ones because I can't.
Yeah, I can make it, to a certain threshold. I don't know what that threshold would be, but
yeah. So, Steve, we have you here because you do a job that we appreciate, and we read those articles. But why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about who Steve is and what makes you tick?
Sure. My name is Steve Vegvari. For anyone that perhaps doesn't know me, I am a games and tech writer. I write for a number of Canadian outlets like Squad State, iPhone in Canada, Console Creatures, MobileSyrup. I also do a podcast, the Canadian Geekcast. I'm kind of everywhere. Sunday. Yeah, every Sunday, and I'm just kind of Canadian video game writer, gun for hire, so to speak. Kind of just doing the beat, living the dream, as some would say. But just kind of doing anything from news to features, reviews, stuff like that, and getting to hang out with wonderful people such as yourself as well,
Wow. He's saying nice things about me, not you, Matt.
That's 100% true.
Yeah, 100%.
Steve, what really inspired you to get into media journalism and start all of that? Was it just simple love and passion of all things tech and video games as you're growing up? Is it just a combination of things, or is it like you had something driving you? Like, what really got you into it from the beginning?
It's kind of funny. I feel like I almost fell into it to a certain extent. I mean, we're all relatively the same age and everything. I think we all grew up to a certain point in the advent of what content creation is on the internet. And for the longest time, like as a kid, I never thought that, someone who grew up in Guelph, Ontario could just go out and write about a video game at any point. Because, you see the old magazines and stuff, and you're like, okay, those are professional people doing that. I'm never going to be that person. So it wasn't until I was in like my early 20s that I started seeing this huge boom of like Let's Plays and video game centric content on YouTube. And that's when I was like, okay, so people can just start doing this as like a grassroots kind of concept and just upload their stuff on YouTube and find an audience. And it wasn't
Don't give
long
away the secret.
Don't tell them.
Yeah, don't.
not the secret spices. No, not at all. and it wasn't long after that I really started listening to like Kevin Smith's podcast and everything. And that was another avenue where it's like, oh, you can attract an audience just by being a nerd and talking about geek culture and stuff like that. So it was a hybrid of those two things that really made me want to pursue not video game journalism, so to speak, but content creation. And, you know, started up a podcast with a buddy of mine, like an after work thing. And after a while, we kind of just like fell out of it because of schedules and all that. And I was like, well, I still want to talk about video games. What can I just do on my own? I don't really want to sit in front of a camera and a microphone on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do that's just solo that I can control on my time? And I just started, you know, a blog, started writing about whatever news or opinion pieces that I had and everything. And then it just kind of snowballed into attracting freelance opportunities in Canada. So that was about, you know, at this point 5 years ago, and it just kept going and going. And ever since then, just have been able to network with the right people. Fortunately, I mean, a lot of it is luck, but it's also just having that portfolio behind me of being like, okay, I've proven myself to be able to do this and this and this. Let's work together on something. And yeah, it's just thankfully has worked out so far.
Steve, do you find, is there a specific topic or genre that does pique your interest more than others? Like when you're writing and putting an article together or anything, is there something, is there a topic that you're just like, awesome, like I love covering this stuff? Or is it circumstantial, like kind of like whatever the flavor is or whatever hits your mood strikes you? But is there anything like, is it on the tech side? Is it on the gaming side mostly? But is there something that really like scratches that itch for you?
I think it's definitely a place and time kind of thing. When I first started, funny enough, my beat was esports. The Canadian side of esports, that's what I covered. I covered it for Cineplex and World Gaming when they were doing like their esports initiative, and that was my beat for about 2 years exclusively, almost.
Wow!
And then I kind of got the opportunity to branch out and kind of talk about video games in general, and then tech as well. I think as long as it's something that I inherently am interested in, I enjoy writing about it. So whether or not it's about Xbox or about their games or about, you know, something tech related, like, I don't know, RGB lighting, I'm down. Yeah. I'm into it, you know, and I'll review it. Yeah. And if it sparks my interest, I'm definitely in there to kind of cover that topic.
So you get to play the latest games for review previews, but has that changed the way that you play video games? Because as someone that we're both new to this, and even when we thanks to Xbox, we got codes to a game months ago that it's probably going to be my game of the year. Mm-hmm. I found myself playing the game differently. Now, does that happen to you, or are you able to get back into playing a game? Because like you just reviewed a game that I just finished today, and I've been playing it like I normally do, and that's Far Cry 6. So that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely changes the way you play games, the way you even think about games. The more and more I feel like I've done it. I feel like I approach a game way differently than I would have if I'm just playing it on my own. Like if I'm just booting something up on Xbox Game Pass and just diving in like one random night of the week, I play that game differently than I do. Let's go back to Far Cry 6, and you know. Obviously, I'm very thankful and humbled by the opportunities I've been given over the years, being able to work with a lot of publishers. That said, though, you do work under, you know, time constraints, hitting embargoes, stuff like that. You do have to go in and kind of critique a game. It's so funny. I kind of look back at a prime example, Halo 2, a game I think is one of my favorite games of all time and everything. And over the years, I've looked at that game so differently than the first time I ever played that when it first came out. It's like, what I keep thinking about, what is it about Halo 2 that I like? And can I describe why I like it? Is there aspects of that game I don't like? Why don't I like that? And I think that's a really big challenge of when you approach like video game reviews, is being able to not only point out the things you like or dislike, but explain that. And that to me has been a hurdle, but also like something kind of liberating when it comes to approaching video games is kind of broadening that conversation that you can have about a piece of art. So yeah, it's definitely changed over the years, and I feel like it will continue to change as time goes on as well.
Steve, is there, with the embargo piece in games, because we've experienced this, and I have a challenge with reading. I love like creators who will go through and give a review or an impressions of a game that they've played. Like if it's, let's just use Far Cry 6, they've gone through and they've had to complete it within 48 hours for the time they got the game or whatever. But I have a bit of an
did not sleep to play that game.
Didn't sleep at all, but it's done. But that's part of the challenge I have with reading or watching any creators going through, even myself, be like, well, I beat the whole thing, but are you able to truly grasp everything that a game or the piece of content has to offer? Because you're under these, it's a delicate balance, right? Of I've had limited time with this. I have to get this out. It's part of what I'm doing. It's required. At the same time, I don't know if it necessarily allows you to be able to give like a full, I guess, comprehensive review. And maybe it also depends on the title as well. When I talk Far Cry, that's an open world 120-hour experience versus maybe something that could be done in 6 hours. I know there's a delicate balance there, but I just kind of want your take anyways on how you feel about the embargo process and doing those reviews, just what the challenge is over there overall.
No, absolutely. I think you brought up that fine balance, and there is a incredibly fine line that you have to walk when you review a game. I think going back to Far Cry 6, if you've played a Far Cry game before and you're approaching a review for Far Cry 6, you already know the basis of the game. You kind of can already wrap your head around the moment-to-moment gameplay, so you can almost take your mind out of that aspect of like, I already know what the combat's going to be. I already know what traversal's like. I don't really have to concentrate that much. Now it's more, let's focus on the story. Let's focus on new elements. Let's focus on the graphics and stuff like that. So you can kind of just put your conscience aside into those aspects of the game rather than like the full picture. That being said, though, time constraints are a huge factor in this. But I feel like reviews, and specifically the difference between a written review and say like a video review, kind of stuff that you guys do, is that you guys have the advantage of being like, okay, this is my impression of a game. And I think an impression or a review in progress means so much these days, especially when you're looking at a game that takes 60 hours. You can actually go along and play these games alongside your audience, which is huge, right? Versus like a video or a written review where, I have to kind of compile 60 hours of thought into 1,500 words or so, or 2,000 words. And then after that, for me at least, kind of sparks a conversation where it's like, okay, I have the review. Now I can go out and talk about this with different people and kind of, I don't know, really start a conversation and kind of see where it goes from there. Yeah. Like the audience's reaction to my review can then sort of in a conversation on Twitter or social, like any kind of social media. And maybe that review just evolves over time. If that makes sense. It
does. I didn't think of that either from the written perspective, because you're totally right. From a video content creator side, yeah, you can have that let the creative juices flow of like, do you want to cover everything, the whole condensed an hour, whatever, a segment of the game, a combat element, right? Weapons, you could do whatever you want in that regard. But you're totally right. I didn't think about how from the written side of it, you're like, I got 1,500 words. I know I want to hit X, Y, and Z beats. Yeah. However, the challenge I think too is like, you could have a great piece and it comes off very well, but obviously anybody can extract whatever from it and say, I don't agree with this or that. But even for you writing it, you may not be like, well, I am not able to get into deep detail on this. I have to kind of give you my Cole's notes on this one aspect. Let's just say it's combat in the game. I can't give you the full written detail of it. And it's got to be really challenging when you're trying to put something together where it's like kind of every bit of it really does count. If it's a giant experience, like if it's a Last of Us or anything else, that's going to be huge, or Uncharted. Those types of games I figure would take a lot. So yeah, I didn't think about how from the written side, it's a way different challenge.
Yeah. And also, I think that a lot of reviews are also so subjective and personal. So if you go into a review that I've written, you're getting the things that have interested me the most, have taken like my focus, and you could read someone else's and their focus might be on something completely different because that's what attracted them. So I think that, I don't know if it's really all that beneficial to an audience to be like, okay, here's a review and I'm talking about literally everything, because then it's like, well, now you're just giving like bullet points on what the game is versus how the game affected you, and that doesn't I don't know. I feel like it's way better just to hit like the best and the biggest things that stuck out to you first is just trying to compile everything into a written review, because then it just seems long-winded and just straying away from the main focus of what that review should be.
Now, a follow-up is, now you have such a small window, especially like this time of year. Like you have November, and like I'm sure you're already looking at February and March of next year and going, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Is there any game right now that you even have time to go back? Like I'll use it as an example again, because like I said, I just finished Far Cry 6. I look at my time played. I played 53 hours of this game, and I did all the side missions, all that. Have you had time to go back? Like even today, Psychonauts 2 got a quality of life update that Matt and I talked about that we're going to go back and go play. Do you have that time?
Usually not, and it's so unfortunate. There are little windows of opportunity throughout the years. Usually the first one is in the summer, where I can go back for the games I missed during the spring. And then obviously like the holiday season, probably a few weeks after Halo Infinite drops, then that's when I can be like, okay, what games do I have to hit before I start doing like my own personal game of the year discussions and stuff like that. What are those games that, like Life is Strange, True Colors is a game I haven't gotten the chance to play. I have the code ready, downloaded on my Xbox, just have not had the time to go and really play it. So I try to take like any free moment I have to go back to those like huge gaps in my backlog.
So I'm going to ask a fun little question here.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, be careful what you say, because one of us is on either side.
I didn't say that.
We're not going to give it. No, yeah,
he said that. He told you to be careful.
Yeah. Well, so Marvel or DC?
Yes,
Marvel,
Steve.
baby. Marvel, baby.
Eat it,
Let's
Court.
go.
I feel
Let's
hurt.
go.
I feel hurt.
I'm sorry, Court.
It's okay. Don't, honestly, I'm just having fun with it.
Don't apologize to him.
Definitely Marvel, as you can see.
Yeah.
And
Spider-Man.
yeah.
No, I don't know. I grew up a Marvel. Well, to be honest, I grew up a Marvel kid and then a Batman kid. Like,
Yeah.
if it's anything
not like
DC, Batman just interests me to no other degree. But Marvel, there's just something wonderful about those, especially the comics. Just going through the pages, I love usually like all the artwork and the characters and stories just happened to interest me as a kid, and that kind of just extended throughout my adulthood as well.
Fair, I'll allow it. Because you did say Batman. Like, come on now.
He did.
Batman, I have a minor obsession. I have a minor obsession with
Minor.
Minor. It's minor.
Have you seen your shelf? Turn around, Court. I say
have,
that,
look.
but then it's
Hold on, look. I got all the Batmobiles. I just got a.
How many Batmobiles do you have?
I have 3 Batmobiles, Lego Batmobiles. I have the Tumbler. Okay. I have the Batman, the new one. It's phenomenal. Nice. You can get that right now at Walmart.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have the 1989 Batmobile.
I was going to ask if you had the 89.
So I got these all on Amazon, except the last 2 I bought at Walmart. And I laugh because I got the 89 Batmobile and I bought it because like Amazon always has that pre-order thing and they'll always make something cheaper. I bought it for $19.99 and I've had it for a couple of years. Now I only get the small ones. Like a friend of mine, John, he got the giant one and he was like, why don't you get the giant $2.99 one? I'm like, but now I have 3 Batmobiles for $100 and you spent $2.99 on one Batmobile and they all fit on my shelf and there's 3 of them. Like Tumblr is awesome. but the new Batman you can get at Walmart right now. I went and bought my daughter yesterday because she's a huge Lego. We got her the Catwoman and the new Bat Cycle, but it comes with a bat signal. So
Oh,
now
that's
I have
cool.
a bat signal.
That's
I'm
really
like,
cool.
I know. See, she's like, oh, these motorcycles. I'm like, but there's a bat signal in there.
There's a bat signal.
I'm gonna put that on my shelf. It's so cool.
So you're getting
That's rad.
you're getting to the point though, buddy, where it's like it's just the accessories that come with it. It's like, but you have this already. It's like, yeah,
No.
but it has the signal. It has
That
the
filing cabinet
signal.
with the broken arm,
yeah.
it's got all the accessories in there on the top shelf. If you open it, it's just like any of the accessories that come with these toys that are on the shelf there. I don't put them on the toy. I just throw them in. All the Batmobiles have a Batman in it. My daughter is allowed to play with them. She just got to put them back where they were. That's
bold.
It's allowed. You just got to put them back. No, you know what?
back.
This is her office too. She gets to play with Master Chief. She can play with the Ecto-1. She can even play with the DeLorean up there. She can play with any of it. She's allowed. She's allowed.
Father of the year.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna vote you in right now. Father of the year.
Because I don't let them touch
It's
anything.
just a toy, man. If she breaks it, to be totally honest with you, I'll get over it. I can always
won't.
go get something else. Like, it is what it is.
I don't.
They're just things, man. They're just things. They're
not.
cool to look at. They're just things.
This is my life. It's my life's work.
They're collectibles.
They're collectibles.
They're
Cor.
not, though, because I take them out of the package. I'm the one that does the opposite of the collection. I take it out of the package as soon as I get it. I laugh because I have the 1989 Batman one. That if you go on like eBay, people are selling it in the box for like $200, and I'm just like,
Oh,
but what is the point of that?
that's
That's
true.
to each their own. You know what?
Yeah.
To each their own.
Absolutely.
I take it out. My comics, I read them. I've got, New 52 #1 there.
Mhm.
I read it. I've touched it. It's got my grease on it.
I've touched it.
I'm not, whatever.
Why do you have to say it like
Correct.
that? I've read it. I've touched it.
Well, it's true. Like, so many people, like, we were at Fan Expo. Like, I heard this guy buy a comic, and then he was like, "Oh, it's so cool. I'll buy the digital copy so I can read it later." I'm like, "What?
What?
What? So you bought it, you put it in a sleeve, and then you're just gonna put it in a box." Anyways, to each their own. Everybody has their own opinions about this. I know
Absolutely.
many of my friends collect things. Hey, I almost collected a console that I sold yesterday, and it's still it is what it is. It's not coming to the 15th, but it's not coming to me anymore. So
Speaking of
that's tough.
consoles, speaking of that, and it was, I presume it was in the Xbox world, Court.
it was definitely an Xbox.
Yeah. So,
Series X.
so speaking of Xbox and speaking of the consoles there for Steve,
Mhm.
you've seen the Xbox community itself grow and have those growing pains as it's kind of evolved over time. We all have. We've gone through eras of Xbox overall where it's been like awesome, huge community engagement, and then there was this mid period. It felt like right around the one console that Court, he who
Yeah,
shall
we
not
don't
be
talk
named,
about, man.
we don't talk about
Yeah.
it, and
It's Voldemort.
It's Voldemort, and it really just kind of torpedoed a lot of that goodwill, I think, that came up at the 360 era. And now we have a pendulum has kind of swung back. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen, because you've been doing this and covering everything across from PlayStation to Xbox and so on? But like, what do you see as kind of the biggest changes you've seen specifically around Xbox over the years?
I think it's just the way that they engage with the community, which is something I really appreciate. The fact that, I mean, they're still a huge conglomerate, Microsoft, a huge company, but the fact that they can just lean into a meme like the Xbox fridge and get away with it and release a product, Craig the Brute, or the Xbox Series S leak. The monkey, the shifty-eyed monkey. I mean, a lot of that obviously is attributed to the social team and all that. But that being said, the way that they just interact and kind of know who they are at this point is so refreshing to see coming from a company like Microsoft and Xbox. I mean, we just saw them announce the Dita collaboration in the shoes. The fact that they're leaning so heavily into like this 90s retro nostalgic thing right now is also cool too. They just have a really unique voice. Oh, please. Yeah.
We talked about this on with someone else previously, and I was explaining that. So Xbox, to me right now, if you look at what group of people have the most disposable income,
Sure.
it's millennials and Gen X. So what are we all? We all grew up either in the 80s or the 90s. So if you're going to lean into anything right now, you're going to lean into the people that are going to be buying your consoles. They're going to buy it for your kid. They're going to buy. They're going to, even if their kid is playing Nintendo, because that's another company. Like Sony actually will miss the boat in the next 5 years because that will come up soon for those kids that grew up with the PlayStation 1. But like for me, you said we're the same age. Trust me, I'm old. I just turned 42, but
he's got back
the
pain.
the Xbox 360 is like my 20s. Like that. Yeah. So like I don't know anybody that I know growing up in their 20s that didn't have an Xbox 360 because none of us bought the PlayStation 3. None of us could afford that 700 Canadian dollar console. It was just crazy pants. So we would rather buy 2 Xbox 360s after a Red Ring of Death problem than buy one PlayStation. So I had to throw it in there. You can't miss an episode without the Red Ring of Death.
No.
So I look at what is happening in the zeitgeist of what they're leaning into, like the All for One, all these commercials that they're doing. It is literally the smartest thing ever because we all love nostalgia. Who doesn't love? Look at DC right now. They're like, yeah, 1989 Batman. You know you love it.
Yeah.
They throw it out there. So I think Xbox is doing the same thing. All the marketing right now, it's to us. And when it stops, you know what'll happen? We're old. When they stop marketing to us, then we're old.
That's when you know. When Xbox stops the marketing push to speak to us, that's when now it's time for the kids to enjoy it, and then they'll have the same experiences as us.
Yeah, because last gen I was PlayStation, and this gen I can't help. Like Xbox speaks to me. It feels like the community even speaks to me. I've never I played PlayStation and I never became part of the community. And it's not that I didn't try, but like I didn't feel like if I joined groups or whatever, it just didn't feel the same. But with Xbox, like even Xbox Twitter, I'll call it, just so darn nice. We talked about this in the pre-show. Everybody's so nice.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's all like a lot of it is attributed to the social team, the marketing team, and yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have the means and the opportunities to kind of be able to game on all platforms this generation and last, to be honest. But to keep coming back to the Xbox One, I think you kind of touched on it before, but it's this pendulum swing that we're seeing where they're just doubling down on goodwill, whether it's the stuff with Xbox Live with the price increase and rolling that back, or opening up free-to-play games, stuff like that. They're really just trying to service the community first and foremost. And I know, obviously, at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're doing what a business should do to attract consumers and revenue and stuff like that. But to see them do it in such a way that actually benefits the community in this way is really refreshing, and that's just something I see changing for the better. And at the end of the day, all it does is just benefit all of us, right?
Yeah, and it's almost unheard of in this day and age that they're so consumer friendly. And yes, it probably has a lot to do with Microsoft, being Scrooge McDuck. They got like this so much, like they've done so much over our lifetime. Like think about it. Like for me, Windows, there used to be lineups for the launch of Windows when I grew up in the 90s. Like people would line up for an operating system. Now we're just like, all right, make sure it's loading. And it was great. Like I have the new Windows on my computer. It's great, but I'm just saying it's different. And Xbox is like, I mean, they just look at it and they're like, hey, we were the meme. Let's be the meme. Like before people were making us the meme. Well, let's make ourselves the meme. No, it's so smart. Like they've done, whoever is on that social team and their PR for Xbox Canada, you all deserve medals. Honestly, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun to work with. I've had the privilege of working with the Xbox Canada team, and they've just been really nice to me, and always very, very cordial. So yeah, shout out to them, I guess.
Steve, what would you say to somebody who's purchased their first Xbox, like if this is their first go around and they're this generation, because we talked about us being the ones that have like, wow, we've grown up with the OG and we've gone through the 360, and like Court has said like, well, I've been 360 and I went to PlayStation and back again. But if somebody's new coming in, young or old, and coming into this ecosystem and this whole thing, what would you suggest, or what would you say to them when they're purchasing their first Xbox?
Just have fun, honestly. Xbox to me has always been like the third party machine. Anything that is multi-platform, I always go for the Xbox. I'm a huge achievement hunter, so if if that sparks an interest to you, if this is your first Xbox console, try to jump into the achievement ecosystem, because that's a lot of fun. And obviously Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anytime I try to talk about Xbox Game Pass, I always feel like a snake oil salesman, but there's no snake oil. Like, it's a legitimate product. Like it's just it's just such a great service that I can't imagine having an Xbox and not having Xbox Game Pass at this point. Like, it's just such it's almost as important as just having a controller at this point, because you have access to so many games, day and date first party games. So if this is your first time getting an Xbox and you're like even tangentially interested in Halo Infinite, definitely get the subscription for Xbox Game Pass. Because
how much is that subscription?
I think it's for Ultimate, I believe it's 16.
Yeah. It's
See, I was going to say, you could do the meme. Like, Xbox commercial has become a meme itself.
Yeah,
it's like,
right?
For the first 3 months, it's only $1. And
Exactly.
And it's such a good deal. Like, it was one of those things where even my friend the other day, he was like, "Oh, what console should I get?" And I was like, I can't recommend the Xbox more than anything else. And I'm like, and I wouldn't just recommend it. I would just recommend, I explain Game Pass. So it's on your PC, it's on your phone, it's on everything. Like, just go with it. And he's just like, wow. I'm like, yeah, he's like, but you're always, I'm like, no, man. I'm like, for the value as a parent, I can't recommend Xbox anymore.
That was my thing too the other day, Core, because we went away for a few days, and we went up to Niagara Falls. And my son and I, like, he was tired in one of the mornings, and we're just like, okay, we're going to chill after breakfast, stay in the hotel room. And then I grabbed my phone and I booted up the app, and I actually just downloaded Super Lucky's Tale for him, because it had touch controls on the phone. And I was like, hey, why don't you chill out and try this? I was like, it's like Mario, because it's a platformer. So I was like, run around, and he started going. And I did have like a bit of a moment of like, that's cool, because I've been a kid growing up where you're at the hotel and maybe you're bored or tired and you're just like, I just want to play my Nintendo. Well, you can't bring all the cables and cords and everything with you, or your original consoles. It's not possible. And now I'm like, you are spoiled. I just booted a whole game on my phone for you, sir. It's ridiculous.
Spoiled. Wow.
Why do you think, Steve, you mentioned something though, as Xbox being like the third party machine in some regard, right? Obviously for all the Game Pass titles we have and the exclusives, but you mentioned saying like, oh yeah, it's my third party machine. Everything from third party developers like on Xbox. It's the exact same thing for me. Why do you think that is though? Because I don't know what it is. I've always done that. I've had both consoles.
Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision.
Stop it. I just feel like it's always going to be, it's my third party machine. But why do you think that is?
I do think that it has all to do with the extra features that it offers. Like, Corey, it might have been a joke, but just having Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision integrated into your console, having the fast like SSD or
VRR.
VRR, just any of that. Plus, for me at least, I just really enjoy the Xbox like UI. Just being able to go through the menus and boot up a game. It's just small things like that just make me want to play on my Xbox. That's not to say that I don't like playing on my PlayStation 5. I do, but it's just the small little things that just remind me, okay, yeah, I'm going to use my Xbox today. Like, I use my Xbox almost every day, even if it's booting up Netflix or something.
Now, Halloween just passed, but if you could Frankenstein the PS5 and the Xbox, would it be like, what features would you take to make? Give me 5 things, and that can true peripherals.
DualSense, obviously. Put that together with the Elite controller, please and thank you. If we can get that, like an Elite Series 3 with those kinds of features, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. I do think that to a certain extent, I would love to see a more streamlined menu bar brought over to Xbox. I do think that PlayStation does have a little bit of a better UI in some regards, some others not so much. But yeah, I don't know if I have necessarily 5, but those are the 2 that just pop into my head right away. I'm sure
what would you take from the Xbox side? Like 100, you've already mentioned Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos. So we know that's not on PlayStation. So that's, you've got the best graphic capabilities on the Xbox. Like the Xbox is the prettier box. Let's be honest here. When you have it on your TV, Xbox is prettier. I've played PlayStation. I have, games that are on PS Plus that are also on Game Pass. I've tried them both. It runs better on the Xbox.
Sure. I think the way you expand the SSD on the Xbox, way more streamlined.
Oh God,
easy.
yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, exactly. I would also bring over the size of the console, reduce the size of that PlayStation just a little bit, so that
so you'd want the fridge. The meme became the better,
right?
Instead of this monolith. Like the PlayStation is a monolith.
It is. It definitely disrupted my entertainment system or space just a little bit, but it's cool nonetheless. But yeah, those are two of the things that I would definitely bring over from the Series X over to the PlayStation.
So if you're listening, Xbox, what we're really saying is we want a controller that doesn't take batteries, or a controller that can sit on a charge stand without having to take the backplate off to put a battery in to make it like look different than the other controller. Might be a sore spot for me. And give some DualSense capabilities.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that next Pro controller for them to
the next Elite.
The next Elite has got to have some DualSense feature in there, because those triggers on PlayStation are just money. Like they are amazing.
It's so funny because leading up to the launch of the PlayStation 5, I was like, well, these are just buzzwords. I get it. You pull the trigger, it feels like a bow and arrow. But then you play a game where you're playing with a bow and arrow, you're like, okay, I feel like I'm doing it. Yeah, you got me. With the dual set, the haptic feedback and stuff like that, I really want to see that come over to the Xbox ecosystem, because I could just imagine what like some of the developers could really do with that. Like, could you imagine like the next Elder Scrolls with like haptic feedback and stuff like that? That would be just so cool.
Or any of those games with the like, even playing Call of Duty on that. Like, I truly think, and this is just pie in the sky, me just throwing out speculation or rumor, but like the fact that we don't have an Elite Series 3, the fact that Phil Spencer made the comment he made a couple months ago, I'm sure you covered it, Steve. He made a comment, and when Phil says something, he says it with purpose. He's not the guy that says, hey, this, that, and that. There's always a purpose in what he said. And he made a comment about the DualSense on how he thinks it is one of the best controllers. He didn't say the best, because he can't do that, but he said it's one of the best controllers out there. I truly think they had an Elite Series 3 idea. The DualSense came out. They finally got their hands on it, and they're like, scrap that. Yeah. We need an Elite Series 3. It needs haptic feedback. It needs everything that's making that fun to do on that side. We need it in ours. Because like it's someone that had an Elite Series 2 and had to take it back because it kept breaking.
Sure.
The fact that it even charge. I want an Elite Series just so it can charge, and I have to plug the darn thing in.
Sure. I definitely see that, and I refuse to believe that we'll go through this entire generation not having those features on Xbox. I just don't see it. I don't see it possible.
I think that's the next like peripheral that Xbox is going to drop the hammer down and be like, hey, look at us. Here's the Elite Series 3, and it's probably not going to be for like 2 years. Let's be real here with manufacturing constraints that are happening in the world. We're going to get an Elite Series 3 with haptic feedback and all integrations, and that'll be Xbox's new thing. Like, hey, everything's updating on Game Pass. Here's the new games that have haptic feedback. Go back and play Ori, and when you're like,
Gears,
you're getting the powers, and like think about all these games you can do this on. They could have so much fun with this.
Could you imagine active reloading in Gears with with like the adaptive triggers? That would be awesome, and that's why we need that stuff over. Yeah, exactly. That's why we need that stuff over on the Xbox side, because they could just get so creative with it, like we're seeing developers do on the PlayStation side.
Or even like a game like EA does a lot with, like you could use the new Jedi Fallen Order, because we all know we're getting it.
Sure.
And when that lightsaber comes up, then you could feel it. Oh my God. Just get us haptic feedback on the Xbox. Because I was one of those, I had Assassin's Creed Valhalla on the PS5. The one Ubisoft game where I was like, this is just too long. And I played it. 95 hours to finish was just too much.
I agree.
But when the haptic feedback came in and you could go back, I went back and played. And I was like, oh my God. I truly think that if I had it before, it might not have felt like a slog. It might not. I'm not saying it wouldn't, because the fact that there's 2 separate endings and I had to have both, and it's just too much. But the bow, I wanted to use the bow like every 2 seconds. Just for the haptic feedback. And Horizon Forbidden West, Like, I can't wait to play
Same.
that game. Like, I just can't. Or when the new God of War comes out and I'm throwing, oh my God, when I throw the axe, like, come on now.
Yep.
So, Steve, what is, as we're getting kind of towards the end of our lovely little conversation with you, and we appreciate your time and giving up all your mid-lunch, because you got to be getting a little hangry soon too. But what is next for your career? What are you working on, like to work on, but what is kind of coming down the road for you on your end?
I want to do more of this stuff. I want to interact more with the communities, do like more collaboration stuff. Like obviously doing my writing gigs and doing my own podcast and stuff like that. That's all fun and everything, but I really do enjoy being able to jump on and join you guys in discussions, or just yesterday, as we're recording this, I jumped on with Ryan Turford for the Xbox Drive and stuff like that. Being able just to interact with the community, interact with other creators and stuff like that, that's a lot of fun. And I hope, moving in past, this huge busy period of the year, I can kind of do that more. That's ideally what I want to do. Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. And hey, this is going to put it, you're allowed back anytime you want. And remember, we record during the day. You're in the Discord. You see it, just hop in, start talking to us.
I love that. I love that idea. I'm definitely going to take you up on that.
And that's one thing I truly love about this community that I feel I've become a part of real quick in 6 months. Everybody's just so darn nice. Like, maybe it's the Canadian thing.
Could be.
We could use that trope very easily. But I will say this to anybody listening. The Xbox Canada community is just, man, it's nice. Like, it's just positive. I haven't seen the negative yet, and I'd be scared if I did, because I've seen people stick up for other. It's just so much positivity in this community.
I think a lot of it also has to do with how small and niche the Canadian side is. We're not the US side.
I didn't realize that either, Steve.
Yeah, we don't have the IGNs, we don't have those big outlets over here, so everyone's just kind of trying to make a name, not for only themselves, but for Canada, right? Like, it's kind of like an all for one sort of thing, where it's like, let's prove that Canada is a country worth talking about when it comes to games journalism, content creation, stuff like that. Like, I feel like we have a lot to prove still in that space, and that's why you see everyone try and help each other out, because everyone's kind of in this together.
Yeah, because I as someone that's been following the game industry like since IGN's inception, I always see, and I can see it on Twitter, like the US side, there's this, hey, we're doing our thing.
Yep.
Like, but I see on the Canadian side, like, everybody uplifts each other. Like, you'll see other creators in the Canadian community saying, great video, or I listen to your podcast, I love it. And I've even someone myself that has gone out of my way now to only listen to the Canadian community content, besides our friends over at PlayStation Trophy Room. I love those guys. They're honorary Canadians. I stopped listening. Matt and I talked about this before you even hopped in. I stopped listening to Kind of Funny lately. And I still listen to the Xbox show, but everything else, I don't know. It doesn't speak to me. We'll see when Greg Miller comes back. But sure. I have gone out of my way to be like, you know what? I should be supporting my community and supporting all the others that support us. And so I've gone out of my way that I listen to everybody's content. I'm sure you probably might have read my question yesterday on Xbox Drive. I go out of my way to send, I send them a message every single week. Anytime anybody says, hey, we need questions for our show, and I see the next, I'm like, I'm in. I'll give you a question. I know it's content. It helps.
Yeah.
Everything helps.
That's awesome. And yeah, I think
talk to you guys every Sunday.
Absolutely, you do. Yeah, I was going to say, I always see you in the chat, and it's always great to interact with that with you and just other people of the community in that way as well. Yeah.
Court, you gotta ask. Matt. Hi, it's Matt.
Oh, sorry.
It's Matt from Assemble XP. You have one more question to ask Steven. It's the most important.
And this is because of Josh. I'm not going to be, because I am definitely on the side of. I think almost every time my takes, like, Josh is not going to like my take on Cobra Kai. It's been 3 episodes. Sorry, it's done. Not watching it anymore. Hey. Midnight Mass. They jumped the shark in the last 3 episodes. Not my fault. But hey, pineapple on pizza. Where do you stand?
It should be outlawed. Let's be honest, guys.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Gross.
Thank you.
Gross.
Yeah. And I'm all for letting people make dumb decisions if that's what they really want to do. If you want to put pineapple on your pizza, go ahead. But there's not a single thing you can do to convince me that that's a good topping on the pizza. I'm sorry, I can go on forever. But when you have things like prosciutto, arugula, and you can put that on a pizza, why would you consider pineapple? Why is that even in the conversation?
I've got to follow up. Since you know what good toppings on a pizza are, so you might have like maybe your soon-to-be wife is Italian heritage. I went there. I had to because Josh was asking me. Spanish. Well, there we go. Same. Wow. Because my wife's Italian. It's the same sort of food culture. Like it really is.
True. It really is. Yeah.
The food culture is the same. Are you wood fire or oven roasted pizza?
If I had to pick, wood fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So good. It's a pizza podcast now.
Hey. Love it.
I'm going out to get Domino's after this.
Ooh, gross. You're going to get heartburn.
I'm going to get heartburn with pineapple on it.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to tweet it at both of you.
Oh, it's so gross.
I'm going to send that over and you will like it. You will
But that
love it.
prosciutto with their
Is on
arugula.
you.
Like I went to Italy and they have the best wood fire pizzas. Like I've had, like you just get a margarita pizza there and you're like, why does this taste so good?
Thank you for bringing up the margarita pizza because
The best pizza ever, by the way.
If you needed toppings on a pizza, the margarita pizza wouldn't be what it is.
Yeah,
It's
a little bit of
cheese,
arugula sprinkled over cheese.
a little basil, a great sauce, great cheese. That's all you need.
So much
But then-
flavor.
and I get it. Canada is a heritage thing. People are like, well, it's from Canada putting pineapple on pizza. Canada's made many mistakes. In its history.
We do a lot wrong.
Pineapple is one. Yeah, pineapple, one of those things. Let's get
Pizza,
on the right side of history.
another one of those things.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, gross! It's cardboard. Domino's. I know it's American. Mistake of letting it in.
I know. The show is now Assemble X Pizza.
Oh,
Pizza
I
pile.
like that.
That's the name. Now that has become the name of the episode starring. There we go. Assemble X Pizza.
Steve, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving up the
thank
time
you.
to hang out and at lunch talk pizza and talk all things community, Xbox, and more. But please tell everybody where can they find you, all the details. Plug your stuff, my friend.
Absolutely. First off, thank you guys again for the invitation to come here. This was amazing. I love hanging out with you guys. This has been a great episode. And yeah, everyone can find me on Twitter at @svegvari. You can also find my work on MobileSyrup, iPhone in Canada, Console Creatures, Squad State, and you can also find me on the Canadian Geekcast, where we record every Sunday on Twitch. You can subscribe to the feed on podcast services or follow the podcast on Twitter at Canadian Geek CST.
Thank you, Steve.
For joining us.